Welcome to the long overdue second episode of Continuity Clusterfuck. Yeah, I know it took me a while to get to this, but I'm hopefully working on a schedule to make this a weekly or at least bi-weekly series. So for the second episode, what will I be talking about? The Highlander franchise. I know what you're thinking. What can I say about these movies that Spoony hasn't already said? Not much. But I have a show that talks about continuity errors and flubs, so I think I'm legally obligated to talk about these movies. For those of you who don't know and haven't heard of Highlander, shame on you! Go get this movie. This one. Well, no, this one in the series. They're good. Go watch it, rent it, download it. Well, maybe not that. Buy it. How about buy it? You should own this movie. Anyway. It's the story of the immortal Conor MacLeod from Scotland, the eponymous Highlander. And he goes through the ages fighting other immortals in the game, wanting to win the prize. And in 1985, I believe, was when this movie was set, they all meet up in New York at the time of The Gathering. Now, the immortals, being immortal, can't die except for one way. You take a sword, cut off their head, boom, they're dead. You get their power in the quickening. You know, I just realized there's a lot of "the" in this story. But anyway, in the first movie, Christopher Lambert, playing Conor MacLeod, fights through the other immortals, is taught by Sean Connery, playing Ramirez, who has a very long name I can't even begin to remember. You have to look that up. But he's Sean Connery, who's Scottish. They have him in Scotland, not playing a Scottish character. He's playing, oh god, an Egyptian pretending to be a Spaniard, or it was confusing. Anyway, so he's trained by Ramirez in 14 something. 1400. 1500. Yeah. Ramirez gets killed by the other great immortal, the villain of this movie called the Kurgan, played by Clancy Brown, who some of you may know as Lex Luthor from Superman the Animated Series and Justice League, and just around anything where you need a deep, growling bad guy voice. Alright. Fight throughout New York. They finally meet up at the top of the Silver Cup Studios. They have their epic battle. Connor cuts off the Kurgan's head, wins the prize. Obviously, that's a summarized version. If you want to see more, again, watch it. So he wins the prize. There are other movies. Do you see the problem? The reason this franchise went off tracks right away is because it shouldn't have been a franchise. There's no opening. He won the prize. So how do you go from that? How do you continue off to other movies, to a series, to about 3 or 4 series, and a cartoon? Well, the movies handled this problem by introducing aliens! Yes, that's right. The Immortals are actually aliens from the planet Zeist, who are criminals that are sent down to Earth and become immortal on Earth for some reason, and they have to battle for the prize. For some reason. It's never really explained. It completely went against the fantasy elements of the first movie and made it more of a sci-fi movie. Now, I'll be honest, when I was a kid, I'd never seen the original. I've heard about it, of course. I'd only seen the second one, and to me it made sense. I kinda liked it. I know. I'm not proud of it now. I liked that they were aliens. That's when I went through my big sci-fi phase. I'm still a sci-fi fan, but I'm also a fan of more fantasy stuff, and having seen the first one and having seen the series, I really hate the idea of them being aliens. And in fact, a lot of people did. The producers did. From what I understand, and I may have to wiki this later to make sure, probably should have done before the video, they didn't want to have aliens. The studio told them to put aliens in to make it some kind of explanation. So what they created was called the Renegade version. This was released years later, that took out all references to Planet Zeist and made all the flashbacks there just the distant past. Now, this wouldn't have been a problem, except that the villain Katana, played by Michael Ironside, also from Justice League and Superman as Darkseid, in the original version, he comes down to Earth to fight McCloud. First, he sends two Stooges who fight McCloud and make him young again through the power of magic, science, gathering, quickening stuff. So he's fighting new immortals, basically. And as much as the alien thing sucked, it explained where they came from. When you take away the fact that all the flashbacks are on another planet, and are just the distant past, it raises questions like, where do these people come from? How the fuck are there more immortals? Again, he won the prize at the end of this one. How the hell? At least the aliens, they gave an explanation. They continued the story. He won the prize. He used his knowledge he gained to help save the Earth from ozone things by building a shield that backfired again. You're gonna have to watch this. Or you can go watch Spoony's review. But it's very complicated. But they take that out. And then it's just some asshole just shows up. Hey, you didn't win. There's me and these two Stooges. Ha ha, fooled you. So he has to fight Katana and win the prize again. Somehow. And then it ends really weird. I don't know how the Renegade version is. I've only seen the ending to the one with the aliens where he goes back to Zeist, or he stays. I don't know, it's been a while. Excuse me a moment. But yeah, that was a quick summary of Highlander 2. Again, people hated this movie. With good reason. Even the Renegade version isn't done that well because of, well, the continuity issues. So to kind of make up for that, they made Highlander 3 not through the Portal of Time, that's Beastmaster 2. The Final Dimension, that was it. Highlander 3 The Final Dimension, or Highlander 3 The Sorcerer, or Highlander 3, and about 20 other names I saw. So, like every other good bad movie, it has about 15 alternate titles. Now, this movie I had seen. This is probably the first Highlander movie I saw. It was many years ago. I don't remember a damn thing about it. I'm gonna be honest. The only thing I remember was the main bad guy, Kane, played by Marvin Van Peebles, who you might remember from Solo, or not. He's been in stuff. I know he has. I just can't remember off the top of my head. Anyway, he plays Kane, the titular sorcerer, if you go by that title. And the only thing I remember from my original viewing was he is in modern-day New York after being awoken from a cave, or freed from a cave. He was trapped in a cave. That's how he missed the gathering. More on that in a bit. He's in modern-day New York. And modern day is like 1994. He goes to a prostitute, and she tells him he has to wear a condom. And of course, being from Mongolia in the 1400s, 1500s, one of those, he has no idea what a condom is. So he tries to chew it like bubblegum, like in the Coneheads. He spits it out, and then I think he rapes the woman. Yeah, that's the scene that stuck with me. I don't know what that says about me, but it also doesn't say much about the movie, does it? So anyway, back to how he came to be. Because again, the tagline of the whole thing is, there can be only one. And there was. Connor defeated the Kurgan, won the prize. But wait, no he didn't. Because there was an asshole in a cave that got trapped there centuries ago. How did he win the prize? How did he win the prize? Explain that to me! Explain, movie! Explain! He can't have won the prize if there's another guy there! So, again, even with their fixing movie, their apology movie, they make a continuity flaw. Because there shouldn't have been another fucking movie. Then, let's move on to Highlander Endgame. Now, you'll see Christopher Lambert there. And you'll see this guy. That's Duncan MacLeod, played by Adrian Paul, from Highlander the series, which also took place after the events of the first movie. But how can that be? It can't. Alright, the series follows Duncan MacLeod, clansman to Connor MacLeod, who was born like a century after Connor had been discovered to be immortal and was thrown out of his clan. And he became a legend. Duncan heard about it, but then he became immortal. And they met up. He was killed in the battle in the moors of Scotland. He woke up. Connor found him, which is revealed in this movie. And they became clansmen, and he became his mentor and friends. Brothers in Arms. Really good, actually. And in fact, Christopher Lambert was in the very first episode of the TV series to help kind of pass the torch. Excuse me again. In a very, very well done episode. I liked it. And I liked the series. Don't get me wrong. It did have its cheesy moments. A lot of them. But it was still a good series. It ran for like 5-6 years. And the basis of the series was taking place during the game. It was kind of an alternate reality from the movie, where Connor did beat the Kurgan, because it was mentioned specifically in the movie he did, but the game was still going on. And really, that's pretty much how you have to look at all the movies. From the first one to the second one, all the way on, is their own continuity. Especially the second one once it got rid of the alien stuff. But there's this one and there's splintered continuities where, yes, he beat the Kurgan, but he didn't win the prize. That is really the only way to make this work. Especially when we bring up Highlander Endgame, where it continues from the show. The first scene is from taking place before the show. And it creates its own continuity issues with the show, actually. Because somehow Connor got locked away because was it Rachel? It was the woman he knew in the first movie that he raised as a war orphan child who grew up to become older, of course, and took care of him. She was killed by this movie's protagonist, Jacob Kell, played by Thomas Paine? Yeah. And, hold on. Bruce Payne. Yeah. Oh no, I messed up his name. Bruce Payne, who is a very, very hammy actor. I personally enjoy the shit out of his performances, but I know a lot of people don't. It's just your thing. But Cal killed the woman. Connor got upset, went into the sanctuary, which may or may not have been holy ground. In the theatrical version, it was, but in this version, it's not, because immortals can't fight on holy ground. That's one of their big rules. But then that creates an issue because, okay, they want to be locked away. It's for immortals who want to be locked away and taken out of the game. But what stops some asshole from just coming in and killing them? Apparently nothing. Some monks with shotguns that easily get foiled. By the end of the movie, though, Connor, at the end of his life, is very morose. He's not really the fun-loving guy we've seen before. And he has, spoiler alert, by the way, I guess I should say, he has Duncan take his head, so Duncan will get his power, and he can fight and kill Kale. Again, there are much more in-depth reviews of this online. I like it. Maybe I'll do my own review of it someday, but I really like it. There are some things that don't jive, there are some plot holes. Overall, I found it enjoyable. The fight with Connor and Duncan, again, I do have to agree with Spoony, who was asking for that. But it was I thought, a very well done, kind of sad scene. The fight at the end with Duncan and Kale had a lot of continuity issues. It was all over the place, mostly due to editing and a piss poor job, and they reused scenes. Anyway, end of the episode. Fuck. End of the movie. Connor's dead. Kale's dead. Duncan's the only one. And for a long time, that was the last Highlander movie. And it should have been the last Highlander movie. Because then we got The Source, which is one of the few Highlander movies that continues the continuity from this one, or the previous movie. I think. Because in this movie, we're also introduced to the love of Duncan's life, Faith / Kate. Or Kate / Faith. She's known as Faith in the modern era. Of course, she's also one of the many loves of Duncan's life that was shown throughout the TV show. But at the end, in this cut, she survives. Although again, that creates a problem when we clearly saw symbolism of the necklace she wore being cut after Kale took a swipe. She should be fucking dead. But whatever. They wanted a happy ending. They got it. She's alive. But in the next movie, she's gone. Never to mention again. And there's this other woman Duncan knows and is the love of Duncan's life, and he almost married her. Oh, that was a continuity issue from Highlander. He married Kate in Endgame, but in series, they specifically said he was never married, ever. Continuity issue. See, did you not watch the show? You can at least look that up. That's an actual continuity issue that carries itself, though. Oh my god. This series. This is going to be a long video. So in The Source, new love. Also new setting. It's the post-apocalypse. Again. I forgot to mention in Highlander 2, that's what they did there too. For some reason, they really want to put these immortal characters in a post-apocalyptic setting. The Source? It's bullshit, honestly. I know there are a lot of continuity issues. I know there's a lot of pissing on the Highlander franchise. Duncan's katana gets ripped in half and used to kill one of the main characters from the show unceremoniously. I could go on a huge rant about that. It's a bad movie. It was delayed. It was filmed and only released in Germany. And then when I finally saw it on Sci-Fi Network, I knew why. Again, you know what? I'm just going to link to Spoony's review and you can see for yourself, because it's fucking horrible. But at least it tried to carry continuity. It didn't do it very well, but it tried. So, what else is there to talk about in this franchise? Well, there was the series, as I said. Good series. It has its own spin-off called Highlander the Raven, starring a character named Amanda, who was kind of a thief, and another love of Duncan's life, or at least on again, off again. I don't remember much about that. I've seen a couple episodes. It's okay. She's working with some police detective. It's one of those things. But it fits pretty well in the continuity of the show. No real issues there. They bring a lot of characters in from the main show into that. And I think she showed up the last season. I can't remember when it was. Probably should look that up. Alright. There's one more. There are a couple more things, though. There's our animated features. There was a Highlander, the animated series, on USA Network. Once again, this takes place in the post-apocalypse, and Connor's there as one of the immortals. They're still immortals. So, again, whole new continuity. Another continuity. Another universe. We're in this post-apocalyptic world where the immortals laid down their arms, except for one guy who was the obvious villain, and he fucking killed everybody. He took all their heads, took their quickenings, became an evil overlord, took over the fucking planet, except for Ramirez, because Ramirez is suddenly fucking alive in this. He was also alive in Highlander 2, but they bullshit an explanation where Connor's first quickening somehow brought him back. Still bullshit. But no, here he's just alive. And the main protagonist of this version is Quentin MacLeod, who was the last of the MacLeods. Somehow, I don't know how, since there's a fucking billion of them, and each one seems to be immortal. How many fucking immortals can one clan make? Oh my god. Anyway. I never saw this. I was aware of it, but I never watched it. So I can't really explain. It's just I know it exists, and I know it's another continuity of this franchise. And then I'll end this here. Last one, Highlander: The Search for Vengeance, starring another MacLeod, Colin MacLeod. But he's not really a MacLeod. He was actually from, I believe, England. God, I haven't watched this. I only watched it a few days ago. He was from England and during the time of the Crusade, at least the Roman Empire. Yeah, he was fighting against the Romans, and he eventually made his way into the MacLeod clan as he was tracking Marcus Octavius, who was an immortal who killed his wife. He wants revenge. Simple thing, wants revenge. It's also in the post-apocalyptic setting. It goes from the Roman times to post-apocalyptic setting, a couple times in between. But he was in the MacLeod clan, fighting for them, mainly to get to Marcus. When he died, they made him an official MacLeod. Then, of course, he came back because he's immortal. What I thought was weird is no one mentioned Connor. So, I don't know if this really is its own universe where Connor and Duncan and them didn't exist. I guess so. It's a pretty good story. It's one of the better Highlander stories, I will say that. But again, it just exists in its own fucking world. There's no other way about it. And that's really what you can say about all of these. They exist in their own worlds. As much as the series lasted and how long it ran and tried to tie itself to this movie, it still existed in an alternate continuity where in this movie, yes, Connor beat the Kurgan, but he didn't win the prize. There are still tons of immortals running around and new ones being born because they're potential immortals. So how the fuck is anyone going to win the prize? I don't know, but that wasn't the point. The point was about the game. Highlander 3, also its own continuity where Connor beat the Kurgan, but there was the asshole in the cave. This complete alternate universe, completely out of its own way. Highlander, the animated series, also the same thing. There's also a series of romance novels with a MacLeod I didn't read, but I'm assuming they're their own thing, too. And then Highlander Endgame and The Source kind of tie together, but The Source fucking sucks. Don't watch it. Yeah, I think that's it. I think I've covered everything. This video's probably gone very long. So, yeah, the continuity of the Highlander series is there is none. They exist in their own little bubbles. It shouldn't have been a franchise. There should have been only one. But hey, it can be fun. It can be painful. But it will always be a continuity clusterfuck.